Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's OTT.X webinar. I'm Holly Choi. I'm glad you're with us today. At OTT.X, we're focused on connecting, learning, and solving, creating a space where the streaming and entertainment community can share knowledge and tackle real-world challenges together. Today's session is all about YouTube, one of the most powerful and complex platforms for distributing content. We're lucky today we're joined by Adam Rumanek, CEO of Aux Mode, who's going to be sharing some actionable strategies and best practices to help content owners make the most out of YouTube. So Adam, I'll go ahead and kick it over to you. And I think you encourage audience questions and participation throughout the webinar, correct?
I do.
Awesome.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Adam Rumanek from Aux Mode. If you need to learn more about me, check me out on LinkedIn. I'll just say I've been doing this for 15 years. I'm going to do a quick screen share. And hopefully, let me just make this full screen and hopefully give you a better understanding of what I'll be speaking about. I don't know if that really worked. Anyway, I'll go cancel that. I'm going to be talking about YouTube. Primarily is best practices for TV and film. I wanted to start this conversation off with telling you that there's approximately 65 million YouTube channels. That is a lot of YouTube channels. About 51 million active channels. So what that really means and what I'm trying to accomplish is how do we get your channel to stand out? So I'm going to be sharing some resources on the best practices here and what we need to do so you can be found. I mean, there are at 51 million active YouTube channels. There's a lot of content out there. And by active, I think it's approximately one video uploaded a week. And that is a lot of content. So we're going to focus on some of the things that will help you get found on the platform. And as we go through this presentation, if you have any questions, please raise your hand and I'll try and answer everything as we go through, because I feel we most learn by sharing. So we're going to focus on optimization of your, not just YouTube videos, which everybody's concerned about, the actual YouTube channel. Optimizing the channel, the video metadata, and custom thumbnail. Custom thumbnail is a movie poster. The terms I'm going to be talking about are the terms of the platform. I'm going to be speaking in the language of the adjective, nouns, and verbs of what the platform says they're called, not what we know a movie poster is. I'll be talking about strategy, programming, monetizing your content, rights management, engagement, leveraging every single feature, as well as other platforms, pushing your content from YouTube to other platforms, because when you get a view over there, it actually works for a view on YouTube. So cross-pollinating your content, localization, dubbing content, and basically everything YouTube to protect your brand. I want to show a before and after as I do this. I'm just going to try once more and do a quick screen share and see if it works. I don't think I can override the OTT.X screen share. It doesn't look like I can. Well, I'll just go with what I have. So I'm going to focus to start with on the YouTube channel itself. If you're new to YouTube and you just opened up a YouTube channel, it asks you to go through the YouTube settings. And as you go through the YouTube settings, one of the first things it does is add some channel keywords. These keywords will help users find the channel. And the channel keywords should be a reflection of the content on the channel. There's a thing called negative keywords. You don't want to start advertising things that you're not selling. If you're selling pens, don't advertise pencils. That would be negative because somebody goes over there and then they click off. That's the exact opposite of what a Google or a YouTube search wants. So you want to put words on that channel that one would consider when looking for content within your channel. Fill out all the preferences, enable everything. Fill out every single detail that Google lets you. You're allowed 500 characters when it comes to channel keywords. Use all 500 or as close as you can to them. So really optimize it. And by the way, channel names obviously are not indicative of what's on the channel. And we see that all the time. I mean, look at Mr. Beast's channel. Once, you know, look at the content he creates and look at the name of his channel. They're not in relationship to each other. You'd be pretty lucky if you had the name, you know, TV shows, youtube.com/TV shows or movies. And the chances are 0 that you have that. But if you are one of the lucky ones who are on in 2005 and you do have a name that matches what you do, congratulations. Because that's pretty unique. And this whole YouTube business just started. And if everybody doesn't know, it's actually February 14th, 2005 was the day it started. It was the first YouTube channel created by one of the founders. And obviously it's grown to over 50 million channels. So we're going to go over the best practices. I see that I might be able to screen share now. Let's see if that worked. And it did not. That's okay. Thank you anyway. So let's talk about optimization. And we briefly just touched on channel optimization. Now let's move over to video optimization. I'm sure the company that everybody's working with, or if you're not working with the company and you need some advice, YouTube has the greatest YouTube channel on how to build a YouTube channel and optimize everything. I'd consider going there or finding a company to help you, or a person, or maybe even a teenager, because they seem to be the most active. But they do give tips on all of it. I'm going to go over on all the preferences on the channel for you, help you better enable your content to be found. That's the key here. So when uploading a video, you can add titles, descriptions, tags, thumbnails are the primary features, the primary metadata that you have to upload when uploading an MP4 or a video, a TV show, or whatever it is you're uploading. For titles, you need to be really clear. There is a format here. It's science. People who say they know how to get you #1 on the YouTube search engine, yeah, don't believe any of that. Nobody can be #1 now, so it would all, you know, be nefarious type of content for sure. So if it's a full episode, say full episode. If it's a trailer, say trailer or official trailer. If it's behind the scenes, say behind the scenes. Be clear, concise. Include the keywords in the title of what it is. In the description, use very detailed descriptions with links to official sites like IMDb or air dates if it's a premiere of something, if it's audio as well, if it's a concert tour. And also make sure you add playlists to whatever, if it's a trailer, add it to the playlist, the trailer playlist, or the full movies, or if it's a TV show, make sure you have it into seasons and numeric by episode. I also highly recommend that you add the cast to the description of each show. It helps with keywords when somebody's searching for that cast member. Tags, obviously use the actors' names and the genre and the title of the TV show, the most relevant information. One of the most interesting things with using cast or actors and actresses and genres, sometimes those B actors become A actors after 10 years. And then, you know, even in the title of your video, you might say, have a cast member up there. You might modify that 10 years later. And lastly is thumbnails. To me, it is the most important thing. There is nothing more important than the visual representation of the video. People are very visual. We judge on what we see before what we hear or watch. So use high quality, compelling images. Avoid like the generic screenshots. You know, custom design is key here. It needs to be, you need to put more emphasis on that thumbnail, on that movie poster than anything else you do. It is really important. I I can't stress this enough. I would actually allocate 80% of my time to that than over the metadata for the video, because the rest of it's copy and paste. You can get from IMDb or maybe on Prime, copy and paste it from there. Spend all the time on that movie poster. And you can also reuse movie posters. Christmas films can become, summer. I don't know if anybody knows what Christmas in July is. It's a big theme in North America. You can take your winter snowflake bridge Christmas film-esque type poster and create one for the summer and swap it out and then redo the winter one. Redoing thumbnails is a great idea if some of them are older and stale, especially if you have an archival library with 1970 westerns or maybe a war documentary. You can update the look of that in a visual representation that would probably be obviously way higher quality than the 1940s image that came out that time. So I would highly recommend doing that. That would be the number one thing I would say. You can also, with thumbnails, they now have AI tools that we use where you can upload a thumbnail and show a before and after. The AI tool will take the existing thumbnail and create a new one and show you the before and after, and then you can test it using like an A/B testing comparison tool. And it's shocking how good these AI tools are at creating thumbnails. That's one of the other things I would highly recommend is uploading a poster to one of these tools, giving it a name, maybe saying I would like a female character at the front instead of a male, and then seeing and maybe daylight instead of at night, and see what the AI tool comes up. And these prompts or these suggestions that these tools use, they're so good at creating it, and they're so fast. We use OpenAI every day, 11 Labs, Midjourney, all of this stuff you should use. People who say there are a lot of resellers out there, but I just name the ones that you can go direct. You can set up an account. It's easy as creating a YouTube channel. Just go to 11 Labs or OpenAI, which is ChatGPT, and amongst a myriad of other tools that we use. It's a great way to create thumbnails, and the cost is so low. A lot of these companies have monthly fees, so you can do unlimited every month. OpenAI, I think, is a credit system, or maybe it's 11 Labs that's credit. For less than $200, you get 1 million credits, especially if it's your first time opening up one of these. It's a great idea. The other part of YouTube after you upload it is your content programming strategy. It's just as important to make sure that you don't upload a video and go live on a Monday if the most watched time of the week is Thursday at 10 a.m. YouTube actually gives you suggested times where people most watch certain genres of content. So once you figure that out for whatever your genre of content is, I highly recommend a programming consistency strategy. Stay regulars. If you're, you can create the strategy. You can have like Throwback Thursdays or whatever you want to do, or weekly episode drops on every day at 10 a.m. or just on Friday at 10 a.m. Treat your YouTube audience as broadcasters did, 25 years ago. It's not 9:59 or 10:01, it's 10. So be very consistent. And I highly recommend weekly releases because it helps with the channel health. Everything I'm doing and everything I'm recommending will pretty much point to the direction of increased revenue in overall channel health, which helps you get found on YouTube. So you can have Throwback Thursdays, and then the next week you can have an episode drop, and then they, do bi-monthly or bi-weekly, or as long as you have a consistency, that's really what I'm trying to get at with YouTube programming. Once the show's over or once the season's over, we would recommend diversify those formats. Meaning, if it's episodic, you can have clips, trailers, teasers for the next season. You can have recaps, compilations, character spotlights. I don't know if anybody watched Yellowstone. They did a ton of those character spotlights on every single, like from Rip to the Duttons, you know, and then you can have like, we call them like BTS, behind the scenes, interviews, bloopers, all that kind of stuff. All that auxiliary content helps for the season 2. It just keeps you, it keeps the episodic content and adds more content to your YouTube channel, which makes me want to watch season 2 or season 3 and so forth. And all of that content, again, needs to be on the same consistency, the scheduled programming strategy. Lastly, when it comes to strategy and programming strategy, use playlists. It's really important. You know, you organize content by show, by season, by genre, or theme. You know, you can have rom-coms. Obviously, Christmas movies can be in rom-coms, or, and, you know, it just, this overall using playlists as opposed to just releasing videos helps the users navigate your YouTube channel. And most importantly with playlists is when you surf YouTube, you'll notice at the end of your, whatever it is you're watching, YouTube gives you what's called suggestive search, you know, suggested videos at the end of that video. And you click on it and you go to some other YouTube video about something else, I don't know, whatever it is you're watching. But when you have a playlist and you finish the video rolls, at the end of that video, it rolls to the next video in the playlist, which keeps the user on your YouTube channel, which we refer to that as TOS, time on site. The more the user stays on your YouTube channel, not only the more money you make because they're watching your content, but it increases the health of your channel, and it's really good for that user to be on your YouTube channel as opposed to anybody else. And I'm going to move on now to what's called Content ID. I don't know how many people know about Content ID on this call. I'll find out at the end when I ask some questions. Feel free to ask anything in between. And you know, rights management. YouTube has this program called, has a software called Content ID. It's a rights management that, you know, we run and many companies out there run. Well, actually not as many as used to, but what it does, it helps to protect your content from theft on the platform. It's like a fingerprint. It takes a fingerprint of your video or audio file, and it looks for matching fingerprints on YouTube. When it finds that match, you might have a policy, and that policy might be, let's block it in the US because that's the only place I own it. I only have US licensing. So I'm the one who's going to publish. Everybody else is blocked. And I can ignore the rest of the world because I don't own the content in that part of the world. Hopefully that makes sense. That's Content ID. So you automatically detect all the theft, and you can manually override things, by the way, and we have to do that every single day because it's not perfect. As everybody on this call knows, content protection is going to be a problem for the end of time. Too many people, I think there's like 700 hours uploaded a minute or something like that. It's astronomical, and the programs, these content protection programs, can't keep up. So we can manually override anything. So once you protect the content from theft, inevitably, if you publish, everybody's going to go to your YouTube channel because it's the only place to find that piece of content. That is a great strategy. And there is a bit of a strategy around that. Meaning if you've never done anything on YouTube and you found that your content has been stolen, you know, 1 million times. By the way, that's not unusual. You're not alone. It happens every single day. I just came from a lunch where their stuff is all over YouTube illegally. We might not decide to take all the content down at the same time until we're ready to publish, because if we remove it all at the same time and it's not being found anywhere else, then people might forget about it and the fans might get angry because they can't find it. But if we remove the content after we publish and they just find it on our YouTube channel, that's a pretty good way to keep the fans happy. Especially if there's 1 million videos out there and some of the videos have millions of views. You want to keep those fans happy, but you want to generate revenue yourself instead of, it's called UGC, user generated content, that third-party content. And by the way, when you release, you must be monetized. And part of rights management is monetizing your channel before you execute your rights, because you should make money off your content. And if other people have been stealing, we could get the revenue from that third party, but you'll make higher you'll generate more revenue if you, as the owner operator, publish as opposed to third party UGC. I'm getting a bit technical, sorry about that. But my point is, monetize your content before you go public. Make sure you remove all the claims, set your policies for block US and monetize US, and make sure you have no third-party claims on any single video before you monetize. That is really important when you're building your channel out. And that's why we schedule content like now for Christmas. So we've actually scheduled content for most of our customers weekly or monthly for the entire year. By the end of the summer, we'll already be at March 2026. And that way, all the videos we're about to release next year, there's no claims on it, can all be monetized already. And I believe if you give content away for free on a platform that's AVOD, you should do non-skippable ads. Why not? You're giving it away for free. Add more ad breaks. I mean, they're getting it for free. So that's really what I believe. Also, you should protect your brand. There's a lot of damaging content in the kid space that these people, cosplay and stuff like that. We've seen people dress up and do odd things, and all that content should be removed right away. It's unauthorized, obviously. If you have any of that going on with any of your kids' content or audio being taken and used somewhere else where it shouldn't be, I would highly recommend removing it all from YouTube. It's really bad for the brand. We do that when we protect content for a lot of the kids customers we work with. And I'm going to move on to talk about what's called community engagement and how important this is. I don't know about anybody on this call the last time they commented on a video, but people who do comment on videos and like your videos, and those are the loyal fans. I highly recommend you reply to every single one of them. They're the ones who are going to share your content and build your community for you. They are the best form of advertising you can get. They're referring to people who they know in their community and hopefully have similar likes and dislikes. So we always believe to leave commenting on all YouTube channels. I block links, meaning people can't add URLs to your comments to take you somewhere else. That's a feature. You can block outside links, but let them say what they want. If you're a celebrity, I understand sometimes that can be hurtful stuff, but if you own TV and films, I mean, they're just commenting on it if they like or don't like it. I highly recommend engaging with those users to help build a loyalty, like a fan base. And they will rewatch, especially if it's episodic. And you can use that community. It's a community tab. It's on. Hopefully you have it on. If not, I suggest putting it on. You can use that to tell the users that a sneak peek's coming out next week. Behind the scenes content is coming. You can actually take polls now on YouTube saying which character would you like to see a compilation of, or should we consider premiering this on this date because it's the anniversary. And you'll find that your community is actually giving you the answers to your own marketing and advertising questions. Sometimes people use that community engagement tool for live streamings at premieres for the fan base. If it's like season 2, we've seen that a lot with some of the, Yellowstone did it a lot. They live premiered it, which is great. But I highly recommend you keep it on and you engage those users. And if you have a brand, if it's kids content or it's a brand, it should be a safe and respectful space. If you see any disparaging stuff on there that is off, not safe for the brand, you actually can block users. I'm not logged into any of our channels right now, but every single channel we have has hundreds of blocked users. Some of them, if they have millions of subs, it's probably more. But we keep it on and we help with engagement. I highly recommend whoever you're working with, keep engagement on and comment every single day. It doesn't take that long. It's kind of fun after a while to get into the habit. But once you're in the habit, comment back. I'd also say to leverage every single YouTube feature that they launch. I've been on YouTube since 2010. The company Aux Mode, we're actually on our 15th year, which is a long time. I've seen a lot of features come and go. The latest, obviously, one of the big ones nowadays is YouTube Shorts. I don't think Shorts generates a lot of revenue. We're not seeing it. We've been on it for years. We don't know a lot of people who are seeing a lot of revenue through Shorts, but it does help promote content. So that feature, I don't know if you know, it's like vertical formatted teasers. I'm sure everybody's been on it. It's usually used for like iconic moments in content. If you're not using it, I highly recommend using it. We call it cutting shorts. You can cut, 100 shorts in like 2 days. It's not that difficult. There's actually tools to do this for you. I recommend just cutting iconic moments. Sometimes I see some shorts that people call them like short form videos. A lot of times I just like, it's that moment in the film, like, the hero's moment. And then you can cut 100 or 200 and then, schedule them out for a year in advance. It's great to have that going on. YouTube also has this feature called premieres. It helps build anticipation for dropping a new, episode or theatrical review. It actually has countdowns and live chat built into it. It's pretty cool. So your audience will engage while they're watching it together. It's kind of like a watch party. It's really good. So that's called a premiere. There's also YouTube Live, which is something different that costs money to stream live. I'm not really going to get into that here. That's people know about Coachella and the Olympics, and I think the Super Bowl had it this year. Lots of sporting events are doing it nowadays, and it could be fee-based. I think YouTube actually did it for Coachella, which was free, which is great. And that's something different, and you need to host that somewhere. And you can't really host it on your home residential line, because if it goes down, your feed goes down. But that's a whole nother business. YouTube has these things called end screens and cards. At one time, that feature was really popular, but with the mobile phones, not a lot of people are clicking on end screens because they're touch sensitive. It does drive viewers to different videos within your channel. But like I said before, playlists are the way to go. And when you do a premiere, you can do a premiere at the top of a playlist, so it rolls to another video. We often use analytics to improve performance of not just like titles, thumbnails, but the entire overall channel strategy. So if you see that more people are watching rom-coms on a Friday night, I would definitely consider that, analytic and launch more content within that time frame when that video is being watched more. All of these tools can be found on the back end. It's really easy to read them. And if you have any problem, I can walk you through this. Again, YouTube has great resources to how you can read and consider, watch time of certain genres by active users at certain times. It's not, they actually give it to you on your dashboard at the front. They kind of put the best things at the top for you, so you can read into those analytics. And another thing you might want to do when helping with YouTube channels is promotion of the channel. So you could cross promote YouTube videos or channels throughout Instagram, X, TikTok, Facebook. So what that means is you can copy and paste a YouTube video URL, and put it into Facebook or Instagram or TikTok. And every time you get a view over there, it actually counts as a YouTube view. It's called an embedded video. You can embed videos on websites. So if you have a website for your company, you can put the playlist embedded video on the homepage of your website. And as that trailer is playing and then rolls to the next video in your own YouTube channel, you get the view count to your analytics on your YouTube channel. It's really, really good. I would also encourage, if you're a producer and you're creating content, just to amplify, that trailer and get it out there. Encourage the crew and everybody you work with to watch it, shout it out, repost it, if depending on what platform they're using. But it helps growth. And lastly, there are a lot of influencers out there who help promote channels and content. There's fan channels, obviously, of every, the Star Wars movies and Marvel. I'm not a huge fan of the Marvel, but I do like Star Wars, and there are a ton of fan channels. So those influencers get paid to drop content, a week before, because those are the most engaged users. And it bubbles up from there. It's like really a smart way to help grow a channel is collaborate with some of those influencers. So pick your genre. If it's like, health, beauty, cooking, rom-coms, horror movies. There's a ton of fan channels for horror movies. Actually, I think I just saw one of the ones when I was a kid. It's re-releasing through a fan channel. I forgot which the one is. The cheap one in the woods. I forgot what it's called. A famous director. Anyways, moving on. We'll talk a bit about localization and dubbing and reaching a wider audience worldwide. So, I think everybody here knows about closed captioning. It's actually free on YouTube now. It was a big thing when it launched, but YouTube can predict take the audio out of a video and do CC, closed captioning. It's pretty accurate, the captions. And if you actually have SRTs, sound recording tracks, you can upload them to YouTube now, and it's 100% accurate. So you can have multiple languages, subtitles, closed captioning built right in. But what I'm talking about with localization now is dubbing. So there are two strategies here. One is to create a standalone, call it, say all your content libraries in English, create a Spanish standalone YouTube channel. The other is to create a playlist, Espanol, whatever movies is in Spanish, on the YouTube channel that you have, and launch, Spanish content and then Portuguese and maybe Hindi and French and so forth on your existing channel. If you don't have enough content for a standalone channel, don't do it. Obviously, multi-language dubbing is really big now. I'm sure everybody on this call has heard about it in the last couple of years. I would consider 100% doing a standalone channel if you have enough content. If not, just do playlists. And here's the thing about dubbing. I probably speak about it every single day. YouTube has a free dubbing tool. I've seen it, I played with it. It's actually on more than half the channels we work with now. It will be 100% by the end of the summer. It's not 100% accurate though. So we use companies to do our dubs like 11 Labs and Midjourney and the other companies I was mentioning. But now you can get it free. And people, oh, it's not accurate. Well, it's free. And the expectations are what you should be looking at without judging the accuracy of the dub. Because on YouTube, it's global. There's no other platform as big as YouTube, by the way. This country, I think it's like 254 regions in the world. Nobody's close. So, and the people's expectations when they watch content on YouTube dubs, say LATAM, say they are Spanish, they're not thinking it's going to be 100% anyway. And I know this because I work with people who speak Spanish, and Cuban Spanish and different types of Spanish, and they tell me, yeah, it's good enough. So I would build that into your strategy. And, like I said at the beginning of this call, thumbnails, and then somewhere playlists I think are important, thumbnails, dub content. You can actually double your revenue just by dubbing your content library in Spanish. And then I would do Portuguese third. There's actually an order in which I would do it in, just from a revenue perspective. It'd be, if you have English, it would go Spanish, Portuguese. And sometimes I do Hindi for view count. Billion people speak the language, so 1 million views is not too much to ask. So we go in that order right now. And you'll see in the next year, every single company in the world is going to be doing the same thing. The price is bottoming out if you go direct to one of these companies out there that have been doing this for years, it's hard for them to keep up to these AI companies. And I just think these AI companies are learning more and more, and YouTube is just giving it away for free. So I think the writing's on the wall there. When doing dubs, obviously we work with TV and film companies. Licensing is a big deal, so I would consider that before doing it to make sure if you are licensing content, are you allowed to do this? Also, a lot of people we've been finding with dubs, I'm not saying anybody in this group, but I'm saying I'm sure if you've licensed content, we've been finding people have been dubbing without authorization for years. And we only find this out when we do the content protection, the fingerprint matching. We're not just matching in English anymore. We're actually matching in Spanish now. So we've been finding dubs out of the blue and enforcing, obviously that's stolen content, and people have been doing it for years. So you got to protect against that, protect against those fake dubs, and do a regular audit to see who's infringing by language. So that's really important. Unfortunately, every time I've been doing dubs this year, we keep on finding the same problem. It's probably happening to you, you just don't even know it yet. So I'd get ahead of that curve and dub your content. If you do have a YouTube channel and it's not enabled, ask the company you work with to enable it for you, or contact YouTube, they'll enable it, or reach out to OTT.X and they'll send you my information. I can help if I can. But that's really, really important as well. And last thing I want to talk about, experimenting on YouTube. People are like, oh, you've been doing this so well, everything. I'm like, no, I'm probably 80% correct. This thing changes. The platform itself iterates all the time. So from lengths of videos to content types, now you can do A/B testing. Now you have thumbnails. Now you have free dubs. A lot of this stuff you can learn from analytics. I have this saying, what do I say? Views are for ego, watch time is for revenue. We generate revenue here, you generate revenue. So I would focus on watch time and help use analytics to determine what's working, what isn't, to get that retention on your channel. But as YouTube grows and launches new things like shorts and now this dubbing tool is coming out this summer, experiment with it all. Check it out. Or if the company you're working with, make them check it out. They actually should tell you about this stuff. Something coming down the pipeline that's not even really talked about is YouTube's going to have you can actually cut long form content into vertical shorts using AI tools. So you might hire somebody to cut 200 short form videos, or just take 15 videos and say to the AI tool, could you cut out the action scenes of these and put it into a compilation or best of, if it's like action, or could you make shorts from these 15 videos and make 500 of them? Or if it's like a Hallmark style catalog, could you get the kiss at the bridge at the end of the movie? I mean, they all go back to the same town anyway. And then these AI tools will build out these compilations for you, or shorts. And I think it's coming down the pipeline where YouTube's going to be able to do that. And when it does, I highly recommend everybody just experiment with it. And people, we all learned how to use our cell phones. This stuff's not that difficult. It's easier than a cell phone. It's just the first day is always a little bit of a learning curve. But in my business, you can't stop learning on YouTube because it changes. And YouTube launches stuff and it takes it away and then relaunches it as something else. So I highly recommend using every new tool that YouTube decides to launch and lets us experiment. And if you ever see that, the red ones aren't good. So hopefully you don't see that. Those banners at the top of your YouTube channel, the red ones, it's bad news. But sometimes you see a green one and it lets you become part of the beta group. Click it, acknowledge it, and agree to do it. And you might get lucky. And last year it was called allowed.google.com. It is a free dubbing tool, but Mr. Beast and some of the big ones got it. And if you were on there a year ago, you just beat everybody by a year in Spanish. And some of the big YouTubers make more money outside of English, and English is the primary language of their YouTube channel, because they were the first one doing it. So I always recommend that as it iterates, click on the button, and then please enable it if you can. And if they're not in something like the dubbing tool, get the person you're working with to enable it, or the company. That was a lot of information I laid on everybody. I hope you got something out of it, and specifically I can recap. If anybody had any questions, now is the time. And I think there's a way to chat questions through it. There we are. You're the one who has the keys to the chat.
I have the keys to the Q&A. So if anybody has questions for Adam, go ahead and drop them in the Q&A section. Adam, I have questions because I feel like I just had a drink from a fire hose, which is always the case when you and I have a conversation anyway. So thank you for all of this. So I'm going to start I was taking notes. My first question is the content ID. Is there, as much as possible, is there anything else that I can do? Like if I'm putting up my content to protect it or make it more detectable, what are some things? And if there are any, I don't usually put up protected content, but
it doesn't give that tool away, because in essence, if you had access to that tool, you can say you're, James Cameron or Spielberg and claim one of their movies or take it down. So that's a very protected tool. There is a way to report individual videos. So if you're logged into YouTube as a user and watching a video, at the bottom right-hand corner, there's a flag. You click on that to report it. But this is a game of whack-a-mole. You're never going to be able to keep up. And unfortunately, that keeps me in business. But it's an extremely difficult thing to stay ahead of that curve.
Yeah.
By the way, I will give everybody access to this presentation that nobody was able to see because I couldn't take control of this. And you can have it. I give it all away. I don't believe I gain anything by not sharing, in my opinion. And YouTube's resources is where I get this stuff from anyway, and I just put it in a presentation for everybody. So to answer, one, you can all have the presentation. Two, the content ID and rights management is, those keys, they're not giving away. And there's actually less people today than there was, obviously 15 years ago, but in the last couple of years, there's so much fraud in this business. Unfortunately, how are you going to get around somebody else claiming your content? And that is what happens all the time.
Gotcha. Well, you have some questions rolling in here. So we'll start with the first one. Is there a typical trajectory for performance when you launch a new video? Should the expectation be the majority of views are garnered in the initial weeks and then it'll fall flat?
No, YouTube is a odd platform. So I watch docs. Like, I don't really like the shoot 'em up Marvel movies myself. Personally, I'm not that guy, but they make $1 billion. Like, it's pretty predictable what they make. I have one of my tabs open on the right. I have a bunch of screens. It's like how McLarens are built, like this car. Like, it's like a computer, this car. Like, that's the weirdest thing I'm ever watching. I can't, nobody can predict well, I guess my history predicts. I do watch a lot of docs or how-to things. And this video has 104,000 views, and it was released a month ago. I just found it today. So the predictability of it all is quite arbitrary. I've seen videos. Obviously, if you release a Christmas video today, it's going to get no views. If you release in December or Christmas in July, you'll get a ton of views. Maybe barbecuing would be a good thing to release today. Will it drop off? I've seen stuff constantly making the same $1,000 a month on one video. We have channels with hundreds of videos, but the same 10 videos make the same $10,000 every single month. And it's been like this for 10 years. We work for Kermit the Frog and Henson, and they do well on stuff all the time. And they release a Christmas Yule log video that it's beautiful every year, and it does extremely well, and then drops off. But then we do a kind of rejig in the summer, and they re-release the same thing as a premiere, and it does well again. So I think experimenting is your best bet, and focus on retention, as I said before. But there's no There's no patterns. It is the content itself is what's going to get the views. It will bubble to the top if it's found. If you're launching a channel today, that's the hardest thing. Coming out of the gates is so hard. Persistence and consistency are the two things you need, and a ton of content.
Makes sense. Okay, so we have quite a few questions, so we'll get to the next one. Besides the dubbing tool, would you be able to recommend any subtitle creation tool for the movie uploads?
So, subtitle creation tool for the movie uploads. No, like the odd thing about YouTube comparative to other streaming platforms, it creates the subtitles for you. There are a ton of AI tools that can separate the tracks for you. You know, I listed a whole bunch. I could give the whole group like 10 tools that we use every day. The big ones are the ones I would go with, like Claude, Bard. You know, Claude is an AI tool that probably has a way you can rip the audio from video and then create an SRT file and then upload it, and then you got closed caption. So there's so many tools that can create that for you. But these platforms are now auto-generating it. You don't have to do that work anymore.
Gotcha. Next question. Given that most video views are from search and discovery, not subscribers, how important is it to have a robust subscriber base for a successful channel?
Great question. I'd argue most video views. I'd also add this to your question if this helps. So you're right. So you only search once. Think about every day you search and then you move on. And then usually Google's recommendation engine shows you what you want without you searching. We all do the same thing. I do it. I'm on YouTube. You know, I work too hard, too many hours a day, and I'm on. So I just think optimization helps suggestive search. Your video pop up on suggestive search. It's not, I think, it's actually Google tells us that. By the way, Google gives this all away. So to really answer your question, Google writes white papers and tells us what to do. So we know if somebody's searching, you know, F1 or McLaren cars, that this is what's going to come up, and it's probably a popularity thing. I'm probably going to click on the one with 100 million views, or in my doc case, 100,000 views over 10 views. But after that finishes, and depending on how much I watch, the duration, it's going to suggest something for me. So if the content that's doing really well, here's a trick of the trade. Go find out what's doing really well, and then check out its description, its hashtags, its thumbnail, its title. You can actually see the tags. There are tools that show you tags. And then maybe use some of that meta on your video so you can help come up after it, because you basically haven't launched a video yet, and you have the only person who's going to know about it is you and maybe the people you're working with. So that might help you get found on suggestive, because to be found on search, I do believe when, you know, as a subscriber, the second part of your question, subscribers get a notification, just like you got a notification for this OTT.X event, that something is going to be launched or just launched. The only reason I got this McLaren video is because it came up on a channel I previously watched and I subscribed to. So that's how notifications work with YouTube. As you're logged in, it's daily, weekly, or monthly. It's depending on how you set up, or the default, or whatever year you signed up. Your Gmail is how it's set up. I've had a Gmail too long. Mine's set up daily. I never click on it anyway, by the way. I get notifications every day. I never want to look at it. But when I'm on YouTube on the left-hand side, I can see if somebody uploaded a video, because it shows you my subscribed channels, what uploads are on. So I would say subscribers are pretty important, because you'll know your subscribers are probably 7 to 10% of the people who are watching your video. Doesn't sound like a big number, but the duration of the subscribers is probably a lot higher than new watchers.
Awesome. Okay, next question. Do you have any experience on content ID protection on channel base? Meaning the channel would not receive any third-party claims, sound recording in particular.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I do 24 hours a day. I have a team that does that every day. That is the job. Claims. So sound recordings are extremely difficult because there's different parts to it. But you know, that's on a music CMS as opposed, that's like, there's 3 different types of CMS: owner operated, affiliate, and a music or music CMS. SRT or sound recording files, composition and publishing have to be registered on a music CMS, not on a TV and film CMS, a CMS content management system. But yeah, you have to register to remove those claims. You can ask whoever's claiming and the claimant to remove it, and they will. I mean, we deal with over 1 million videos, so we get that released all the time. But if it's like Sony or Universal, which owns 70% of all tracks out there, or Hypnosis, they'll release it if you own it. You just have to get in touch with them. It's kind of hard getting. We're in touch with them all day, every day. That's what we do. I hope that answers your question. Music's difficult though.
Okay, another question for you. For horror films, do you recommend editing to avoid flags that impact monetization? How negatively is monetization impacted by proactively reporting the horror content when you're setting up the video?
Yeah, just like kids, you'll lose all your money. Here's something coming down the pipeline. Great question. So a couple years ago, YouTube implemented YouTube Kids, where it pretty much demonetized everything on the platform that was 12 and under, due to the fact that you're not allowed to advertise to that group. And they launched YouTube Kids, where it's watch time. They pay you the longer you watch, the more money you make. It's a different calculation. It's a formula. Rumor has it YouTube age gating is coming down the pipeline. If you don't age gate your content, it will be age gated for you. You have no choice anymore. There's a new government and there's new rules. It actually aligns with the EU rules more so than the US rules. So the US is going to implement what they did because it seemed to work out there. So all horror movies, I would highly recommend, you have to do this, else you'll be demonetized 100%. But here's the most interesting thing about everything with YouTube, why nobody knows everything. So say you age gate it, you're still allowed to monetize it, but we don't know the new monetizing companies that will be adding ads to it. In my opinion, I've never seen more gambling advertised in my life until now. Everywhere I look, FanDuel, Bet365, MGM, they're advertising the NBA playoffs, women's tennis, Little League shirts. Like, they're sponsoring the whole world for gambling. They're not allowed to, they're going to be the ones on the age-gated content, because you can't advertise to young kids to gamble anymore. In the US, it's going to have the same rule as everywhere else. So think about gambling, or those online gambling companies. Everybody's got a vape these days. Like, half the stuff's legal now for everybody, including alcohol and weed. And so all these new advertisers who've not been able to advertise, now once you age gate, will be able to advertise to a whole new genre. This isn't, Google doesn't do things without a plan. So think about that. And by the way, they have to be logged in the new rule. I think Texas or one of the states just launched a new rule. You have to put your age in your Gmail now. So they're literally going to give you your age, and now the gambling company can advertise towards you on YouTube. So these all work in conjunction with each other. So for horror movies, or like any Quentin Tarantino movie, like all of that stuff needs to be age gated. They'll now have a group of advertisers who will be able to bid on that on YouTube to advertise. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I do smell something under, a strategy based for them. They wouldn't do this unless they knew they could make money off it. Like, they'd fight it. They're not fighting this.
Yeah. So your next question is a follow-up. Follow-up to that question, are YouTube standards essentially PG and you're safe? What are their biggest concerns? Language, sexual content, gore, etc.
I mean, I can't, it's hard for me to answer that. I mean, that's them, not me. I'll put it to you this way. I get asked if I ever can buy any catalog of content, and this is for money, for revenue base. If I were to purchase something today, I'd buy the Hallmark catalog. I think that's pretty safe. The definition from EU to different countries around the world of what's safe, what's fair use, what's Creative Commons, what's PD, what's violence. you know, it's so hard. Everybody has their own rules, and YouTube has to appease governments, and then collectives like the EU are bargaining together, and then privacy groups. It's such a hard answer to answer. I just think, you know, the creative people who create content, in my opinion, have to protect kids because, you know, everybody goes on their parents' devices. These 10-year-olds can see stuff they shouldn't see. And people, oh, your parents should know better. Really? Like, I have 2 little kids under 10. My kids take my phone. I don't even know it while I'm doing laundry. I don't know. So I would say, you know, I'm all for the age gating. And I didn't have this problem 10 years. I didn't even know it was a problem until I had kids. So in different countries have different rules, and that is always going to be a problem. Who's to say what should be rated?
Absolutely. Okay, you have one last question, and then we'll need to wrap up. So the last question is, are they getting rid of YouTube Kids then?
No, I do not see that going anywhere. If anything, I think they probably leverage the lessons learned there to bring it over here, for you know, maybe age gating and having a whole new group of advertisers who are willing to advertise on that, because you don't see many alcohol advertisements on YouTube. You know, I think there's strategies behind things. If they work or don't work, you just keep on doing them and then experimenting and going forward.
Awesome. So that's going to do it for us today. Thank you, Adam. This was, again, it's like taking a drink from a fire hose, I know. So if anybody would like to learn more, or if this was, you know, not enough of a fire hose for you, let us know, and we'll see what we can do to bring more of this this type of content to you guys in our webinar series. So really quickly, at OTT.X, we're here to support the industry by sharing ideas, surfacing solutions, and helping each other stay ahead of the curve. So today's discussion on YouTube strategies is a great reminder that even widely used platforms still have untapped potential, and mastering them can really create value for your content owners. So if you're not already a part of the OTT.X community, we invite you to get involved at OTT.X.org. And keep an eye out for future webinars and in-person events. Thanks again. We'll see you all next time.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Adam. This is great.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.